Hello, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Freed, and I am a medium and had the opportunity to have a lovely interview with Keith Andrews. He invited me to come on his show, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to share my experiences with you.
The whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. Never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are, who you're going to be. So prove to them, still amount to something. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the one and only KeithAndrewNetWork. It's Season 12, Episode number 2, available on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and all social medias. We're here as a great guest, so you already introduced yourself as the recommendation in the beginning of the video, so let's jump right into it. You are, without question, an upcoming actress. You dabble in the psychics. And that's the one thing I do want to talk to you about. Are you a psychic? And when you mention psychic medium, because that can mean so many things, different things.
Well, I'm not a psychic. I am what is known as an evidential medium. What I do is I get messages from departed loved ones across the veil. And that means I only speak to spirit. Someone that's psychic is getting information from you. You're alive. I get my messages from departed loved ones, people on the other side.
So you're like John Edwards.
Yes, it would be like that, or Teresa Caputo. I'm not in their league, but like that.
No, that's amazing. So the first question I want to ask you is, this is going to sound like an oxymoron, but I'm going to ask anyway. Who inspired you to go into that type of work? Did you ever have an experience? Did you ever have an episode, or did you just decide to have a passion and say, you know what, I like this and I want to do it?
Well, it's an interesting question. It's a good one, Keith. I, in my 20s, had an out-of-body experience, and let me just do one thing just to ensure that we aren't going to be interrupted. I just realized I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode so we won't hear anything. There we go.
Don't worry, I did the same thing.
Okay. All right. Okay. I had a very jolting out-of-body experience. It just was was a little scary. And it happened right around the time the movie The Exorcist had come out. So it just really freaked me out. And I did some research about it and then made the decision after looking into it at what was the purpose of it. I didn't see any purpose of it. So I could go flying around, do astral projection, but what good was that doing humanity? I didn't see any point to it. And I was busy with business and other things, so I put it to sleep. And then that was when I was in my 20s. And then when I was in my late 30s, I ended up having 3 miscarriages. And that was a very sad thing to happen to me, but I got over it and I dealt with it. And one day, just out of the blue, I was on the phone talking to a client. At that time, I was a management consultant and I was talking to GE Aircraft Engine. And I was making an appointment for a meeting. And I'm sitting in my office on the phone and I noticed the entire room started to take on a golden glow. And I went, that's interesting. But I was engaged in a conversation with someone. So I thought, all right. So I'm talking and I'm saying, oh, yes, 2:00 would be fine. And all of a sudden, I feel this overwhelming sense of love, unconditional love, just fill the room. I'd never felt such a thing before. And it was like, you might look at a puppy with this kind of unconditional love, or a baby or something. I just had not known it. Now, at the time, my husband was out hunting, and I thought maybe he had walked in the room and had come in the house, because I did hear some, like a door open. And the next thing I knew, I felt this reassuring squeeze on my shoulder. So I thought it was my husband who had walked in the room, and I whirl around in my seat to say, I'll be with you in a minute. I'm on the phone with the client. And when I whirled around, there was no one there. And I went, woo! And the lady on the phone said to me, are you all right? And I said, yeah, I am. I wasn't frightened. I was just startled. And then shortly thereafter, the golden glow dissipated and this feeling of love dissipated and things went back to normal. Now, what's really odd is I hadn't meditated, hadn't done anything. It just was out of the boots. This is what I would call an awakening, okay? It let me know that we are more than our physical body. The experience in my 20s, yes, that did, but that was scary at the time. This was not scary. It was just wonderful. And I thought, well, if I'd been on my knees and praying or something, nothing like that. It was like I'm talking to you and all of a sudden the world changes. So I have longed for that experience again, but never had it again. And then I just forgot about it. Okay. And went back to, I was running a business. I've had my own business for 40 years, did what business. I just did my thing.
No, absolutely.
So
go ahead.
what happened. That's okay. And then I had taken some courses from the Monroe Institute, and they believe you are more than your physical body. And I had taken 3 or 4 courses, but again, I never pursued anything because I was busy running my business. I'm retired now. I will turn 76 next month. And I said, I'd like to take a course again, but what course would I like to take? And all of a sudden, this course showed up that said mediumship toolkit. I went, that sounds interesting. And I had a reading by this woman that's offering the course, and I thought she was very good. I liked her. Let me take her course. So I went to a week-long retreat and got hooked. It was really, really interesting. She was an excellent teacher. The people in the class were very nice. I wasn't very good, however, to start. I was like 20% accurate. And I thought, well, that doesn't work for me. I'm used to excellence, okay? So I said, I better get practiced up and take as much education as I can. And I probably had 4 or 5 courses since. I continue to practice and learn. And then I got to thinking, here I am, this professional person. How am I going to tell the world, as having been a very well-known executive coach, that now I'm doing this very woo-woo stuff? They'll think I'm a nut job. So I was thinking about, how am I going to present this? Well, I also do pro bono coaching for an organization called the Honor Foundation. It serves special operations military and Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders, Delta Force, these folks. And I've been helping them transition from the military to the civilian workforce for the past 7 years. And I've always wanted to contribute that way, and I wanted to contribute financially, but I have limitations because I am retired now. So while they're in my will, I would like to be a philanthropist while I live. And I thought, well, how can I do that? So that was in the back of my mind. And then as I got involved in mediumship, I wanted to do it for people, but having been in business for over 40 years, I learned very quickly that people don't appreciate what they don't pay for. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to charge a nominal fee, not like what a John Edwards or these other folks would charge, but I will charge a nominal fee for half an hour or for an hour reading. And the money will never come to me. It will go directly to the Honor Foundation. And I worked out a situation with them where they gave me a link. So when anybody that wants a reading from me, they must first put their donation in. Once I see their receipt that they actually made the donation, then they can schedule a meeting with me. And that is how I got into it. It serves many, many purposes. in the sense that it supports my organization, gives me the opportunity to do good, to give somebody a healing or empowering message as a medium, and they get a tax write-off. And so it's win-win-win. That's my story.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. It's like, here's a funny story for you, because a lot of people say, when you're psychic, the joke is, if you're psychic, you should know why I'm coming to you. There's a psychic in Tuxedo, New York. And I said, well, let's go over there. We never went, but I'm saying, let's go over there. We can go knock on the door. Well, if she's really psychic, wouldn't she know why I'm there? I know it's a bad joke, but there was one, and there was a psychic in New Paltz. Me and my sister always go, and sometimes she's right, sometimes she isn't. And the psychic's like, oh, it's $20. And my dad's like, you know what she saw? She saw you coming. But the question I want to ask you is, how do you do your readings? Or do you do tarot cards? Do you do the crystal ball? Do you ask personal questions and then the answers come to you? Our viewers would like to know. I would like to know as well.
Okay. Well, as a medium, we use something called clairs, C-L-A-I-R-S, clairs. So that somebody who is clairvoyant, they see things. Somebody who's clairaudio, they hear things. Someone who is clairsentient, they feel things. Someone who is claircognizant just knows things. And then there's clair, I think it's gustatory, they can taste things, or clairolfaction, which is they smell things. For me, I haven't tasting and smelling, it hasn't come into me that way. But I use all the clairs, and my strongest clair is claircognizance, or just knowing. And that took place probably more so when I was an executive coach. I still am. I'm affectionately known by my clients as the heat-seeking missile, because a client will come to me with an issue and they'll talk all around it, and I'll go, this is the issue. Let's get rid of all the smoke and crap, and let's deal with what the real issue is. So with mediumship, I put myself in a meditative state, and I meditate every day so that I'm connecting with my spirit, and with guides, so that they're free to come to me. And when I'm in that state, I always ask that whoever comes forward does so with the greatest good of the person who I'm reading for. That person I'm reading for is called the sitter, also like the client, but the sitter, I'm the medium, and the departed loved one is the spirit. Okay. So I explain to people, many people want a family member who has passed to come forward. I have no control over that at all. Basically, what happens is I say to them, while you may want a family member to come forward, you need to keep a broad mind on this, because it could be a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, former boyfriend or girlfriend, etc. So as I describe what I'm getting, all I want you to do is to say to me, yes, no, I don't know, tell me more. Do not give me any information.
Right.
A medium should never ask you direct questions if they're worth their salt, okay? So basically, the first thing that happens to me is I go into this meditative state, which for a few minutes, and I ask to connect, and I will get an image, I'll hear something, something will happen, and I will say to the sitter, I'm seeing a fatherly looking gentleman who is tall. He has curly hair, and he's actually in very good physical shape. He looks like he's probably in his 60s. So that's suggesting to me he may have passed around the age of 60. Would you understand any of those things? They might say, well, I understand the hair and the height and the general look and the healthy. So yes. Or they might say, well, I understand three of those, but I don't understand the other. And I never care if someone says no, then just dig deeper. Now, then we go through and I keep providing evidence to them about what it is that I'm getting until they're very clear about who I brought forward. So maybe we decide, I might say, this seems like a family member. Would you understand grandfather? And if they say, yes, you're describing my grandfather, then I will ask that spirit to provide for me a memory that they had with this sitter, with this client, and that only they and the client would know. And so I do that, and then I give them the evidence. And if they agree with it, then we know we have really locked on to this person. And when that happens, then I provide them with a healing or empowering message from that person. And that's the basic way that it goes. Now, if you want me to give you some examples of readings I've done and what I found out, I can do that. But that's the basic process. You have any questions with regard to that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I
Okay.
find it's very interesting, and I'm very curious. I would love to do, say, a sit down with you. Let me ask you a stupid question first. Obviously, because obviously people know I ask stupid questions.
No, no question is stupid, and you've been told that many times that you don't know, and then you want to be enlightened. So go forward.
What happens if someone pays for their time and they don't get anything?
Okay, here's how I handle that. I say to people, because it's a donation, I can't collect the money back. All right.
Right.
There's nothing I can do about that. So I say sometimes spirit just doesn't cooperate. And we don't know why. It's nobody's fault. So I will know within the first 5 minutes whether something is happening. And if it doesn't, then we will reschedule. We'll reschedule at a time where maybe your energy isn't right, or my energy isn't right, or I'm tired, or you're tired, or something isn't right. And we will just reschedule until we get it right. And that's it.
No, it's that easy. You
Yeah.
mentioned a couple of things I do want to talk to you about. I never had the experience of having the taste. I I have heard spirits, yes.
Mhm.
What was that called again? If you hear someone,
Clairaudient.
thank you. One of my favorite ones is when my grandparents are around, and it's really funny because my grandparents used. It's not funny. You know what I mean. So what's funny is when my dad's parents are around, I always get this smell of an apartment smell. When you walk into it, it's this unique scent. And when my mom's parents are around, because they're used to live on Long Island, it's more like an ocean scent.
A what scent?
Oh, ocean.
Oh, ocean. Okay, like a sea salty kind of smell. That's very legitimate. That tells you you're very fortunate. You then have connected on that way so you know who's coming forward, which set of grandparents. That's great. That's just great. That's very legitimate.
And there's another time where I actually it's happened once. I kind of hope it happens more than once. Knock on wood. I We have a set of stairs in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to put down new steps. We have builder steps, so when people walk on it, it creaks. So I heard someone walk up the stairs, and I thought it was my dad. So I went, Dad, is that you? Didn't hear anyone. I ran up to the top of the step and I looked down, and I swear to God, I saw my grandfather, my mom's father. He had white hair, a white collar shirt, um, a black gold belt, dress pants, and but as you go lower, it's he became transparent. But it was so clear that I saw the white collar shirt, and I think he had like a watch on. What is that one called?
That's That's clairvoyant, you see. Mhm.
My
Clairvoyant.
sister is actually a psychic, and so we were wondering maybe it's funny for me, we always joke around about this, but it's a little true. I can understand dogs a little bit.
Mhm.
When dogs are really in that moment where it's like, I understood exactly. I have a video if you want to see it, I can send it to you.
Sure.
But there's a time where it's so clear to me. And I'll give you an example. There's this dog, Grace. She was in a chair and she was getting annoyed because there's this other dog, who looks like Toto, but isn't Toto, Coda. Coda wanted to be in the chair as Grace. And I swear she says no, like a person. And later on, they were arguing. And she said, I said no. And I was like, you know what? That's really cool. I have it on video because no one would believe me any other time.
Well, there are people who specialize in animal communications. So there were a couple people in my class, and that's what they wanted to do was to communicate with animals. I've never thought about that, but I also know that it's possible, and the same principles that I use would be used with very similar to animals. Just can with animals. Well, wait a minute. Let me go back. With animal spirits, these people wanted to communicate with live animals. And I think it's tapping into a similar energy. It's tapping into the energy and being able to do that. It's not a skill I have, but that's great that you could do that.
You know, one thing I do want to say, Dan, I'm going to pass it over to you, is do you actually this is a great subject. I haven't talked about this in a long time. I've been doing this show for 10 and a half years, and
Wow.
it's really great to bring this up again. Do you believe in life after death? And did you ever ask somebody, say, I really hope to see you again, and they actually do come through, not once, but number of times? So what I mean by that, we had to put my cat Molly to sleep. And I said, you're my best friend. I love you very much. I will miss you. Will you promise to visit me, every day? So not every time I go to sleep, I see him. But out of all the animals that we have, I see him the most. He's there and he's always there for me. Has that ever happened to you? And what do you feel about life after death? Passing the show over to you.
Well, a medium does believe that when we talk life after death, that we are just in a physical body. Our soul is using this physical body. Our soul never dies. It continues to live on. So how do you want to define life after death? I would say the soul is everlasting. Okay. So the thing is, what you're talking about with your animal coming to visit you, I recently lost my cat of 15 years, and I I don't see um, like you see images. I don't see manifestations of a spirit in this environment.
Right.
I get images in my head, not in front of my eyes. You are telling me what you saw of your grandfather was right in front of your eyes, which a lot of people have the gift to do. I do not. Mine come to me in images in my head or voices that I hear or senses that my body feels, okay, but not as you are describing. Now, it was interesting about the cat because um, I had talked to my cat and I said to him, his name was Pierre, and I said, oh, Pierre, you know how much I love you and you know how much I miss you. And it really broke my heart to have to put you down. And he said to me, he understood. He wasn't well. He had renal failure and it was okay. But I said, anytime you want to come and visit, just come sit by my side. And I swear I could feel his presence. Okay. Not that he was touching me per se, but I could sense his energy. That's the best way I could describe it to you.
When you're in your dream and something feels real, like I had an example, someone touched my face in my dream and I woke up and I felt something touching my face. So it was actually the blanket. But is there kind of like a connection?
I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I honestly don't know. Some dreams feel a visitation can come through a dream, but whether or not, the touch may seem real, I don't have the answer to that one. That's something I can't respond to.
No, absolutely. Now, for people who want to get in touch with you, what is the best way? Are you on social medias? I know you're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Right. The best way to get in touch with me is to go to my website, which is www.elizabeth, that's Elizabeth, Fried, that's F as in Frank, RIED as in David.com/medium. And that'll take you and explain to you what you need to do to set up an appointment with me.
No,
But
absolutely.
I don't really advertise myself as on LinkedIn, you see me as an executive coach, and I mention that I do mediumship, just as an aside. On Facebook, I don't have a separate Facebook page for mediumship. This is a relatively new thing for me, and I have a very specific interest in supporting my charities. So that's why I do it. But I will tell you that there is a psychic healing fair coming up in April in Carlsbad by Little Sedona, Psychic and Healing Fair. I believe it is March 30th and 31st, I think. It's at the Staybridge in Carlsbad. And then around mid-April, I'm going to be doing another fair from, I think it's Soul Search psychic fairs. So there's two different, and I did one in downtown San Diego. They're very exhausting. So I limit what I do. Normally I don't like to do more than 2 readings in a day because it takes so much energy for me. But when you do these fairs, I think the first fair I did 8. That would about killed me. So now I'm going to limit it to 6, but I will be speaking at the fair at the Staybridge on Palomar Airport Road in Carlsbad.
No, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but the one thing I do want to say is congratulations on winning an award in 2022.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
We definitely will do a part 2. I would love to talk to you about your acting career. I would love to work with you. But we're wrapping up real fast. I want you to be brutally honest. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now, and what do you recommend it to people?
I think that would be a conversation we should have offline, okay? Because I am a professional and I've done a lot of interviews, and one of the things I would say is that you have a set of questions that you ask, or you ask your interviewee if they can provide you with a set of questions to ask. It just makes that's just my experience, having done drive time TV and CNN and those kinds of things before. That would be, why did I say yes? And I'll just tell you, because my whole purpose in life is to be of service. And when you told me you had disabilities, I wanted to see if there was some way I could help you and support your effort. So that is why I did this.
No, I appreciate that very much. I'm looking forward to part 2, but wrapping up, this will be aired on all social media. So until we meet again, catch you later. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Likewise. Talk to you soon.